This is absolutely Essendon, the Bombers YouTube fan channel that turns up every week just like it's Anzac Day, full of pride, passion and just a little touch of PTSD. This is our Round 7 blockbuster preview against Collingwood, 1st versus 11th. The stakes couldn't be higher. Can we build a case? I think you know we can. Cue the music. Alrighty, that was a big build-up. All of a sudden, actually, I'm not sure if we can build a case. But,
well, yeah. Hey, look, let's be optimistic. Let's be positive.
Yeah.
It's our New Year's resolution was to be positive,
Sure.
and we will build a case because you know what? It's a 2-horse race.
Yes,
it's a 2-horse race.
It is. Now, you understood the PTSD reference. That refers to the plight of a Bomber fan, really.
I got that. Yeah, I got that. You know, we're all suffering. I mean, we haven't actually been the dominant partner in this marriage, have we, between
we have not.
Us and the Pies
Much
over
abused.
the 30 years? They have. Yeah. I think there's a case.
They have owned us, let's face it.
They have.
They have owned the territory.
17 wins to our 10.
Yes.
And 2 draws, of course.
Yes.
So, it could be 18 and 10.
Is that our positive approach?
I said could.
It quite easily could. However, this game, this day, you can see we're pumped up about it. We all feel the emotion, right? And so it's that one game where a lot happens between the ears, above the shoulders. What is it? What do you say?
Both. Because the ears are above the shoulders, so I think it applies. This relationship we have with Collingwood, this love-hate relationship between ourselves and the mighty Pies. Let's not be afraid to say that. They are a wonderful football club and have been for a long, long time.
Mighty Pies.
They're not Carlton. Let's be honest. They're not Carlton, are they?
Right. No.
But, it's been an incredible 30 years. Can you believe that? I went to the first game in 95. I couldn't get in.
So did I.
Could not get in.
I was in a corporate box.
Well, that'd be right, wouldn't it? Hey, thanks for calling me. Of course, we didn't have mobile phones then.
It was a beautiful day too. I can't tell you just how comfortable I was.
Were you?
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't so comfortable. I was rather annoyed. You can imagine the rant I had not being able to get into the game. But just, it's been such an iconic fixture. It's been a little diluted by the money-grabbing AFL that have pretty much said everyone can have their own Anzac Day game now.
Is that a money grab or is that
Of course
just...
it is. Of course it is. Anzac Day is the 25th of April.
Yeah.
It's not the 24th and it's not the 26th. Okay? So if we're celebrating or commemorating Anzac Day, it's on the 25th at the MCG between Collingwood and Essendon. No disrespect to anybody else.
Right.
But that's where the focus of the attention should be, and it's not anymore. And I don't like it. Did you know, Smoke, that 13 clubs will be sporting an Anzac Day Guernsey this year.
Okay.
So, look, I'm all for us, remembering these incredible sacrifices of our fighting men and women over the years, and that shouldn't be left to just a small and elite group, except when it comes to the AFL football, and that's Essendon and Collingwood. That's my view.
Yes, I know, and it's been very well clearly stated in our Anzac Day preview in 2024, and also the Anzac Day
and
preview
we'll continue
of 2023. So I think anyone who's been around a while has heard the spiel and is well acquainted with your point of view.
I don't think I'll have too many coming at me over that.
My only point, and I was in very firm agreement in 2023 last year. A little less. I don't think it dilutes what is created between Essendon and Collingwood on the 25th. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, the AFL's just, you're right, they're milking it. Let's take a good day and just stretch it out pizza dough style as far as we can. All
right. Well, look, that's your view. I have a differing view. But did you know, and this was something that I learned about this week, that during the
should we do the news?
The infamous during the infamous Essendon supplements saga.
Yeah.
The AFL, those dirty dogs, tried to get Essendon booted from the Anzac Day game.
That's outrageous.
They secretly approached Eddie Maguire, or at least he claims they did.
Did they really?
Yeah, and said, "Hey, Eddie, we're thinking of doing this, and we're also considering kicking Melbourne off the dance card for the King's or Queen's birthday, King's birthday now.
But is that just because they're shit?
Pretty much.
Right, okay. But with us, they just had it in because of the...
They didn't like us.
Right.
So that
Scoundrels.
AFL... now, Eddie, of course, says,
he would have saved the day.
Without
he would have said, I'm not having a part of that.
Anzac Day would be, Collingwood versus Western Bulldogs. Anyway, as it turns out, Demetrio, who I'm sure would have been at the bottom of that pack, didn't get his way, and we continue to play, and as we should. The two supporter bases are what makes the day so fantastic. I think, if ever there's a case where the crowd is more important than the players on the field, it's on Anzac Day.
It is. It is very much. They create many electric moments. So
yeah.
We thought it may be worthwhile, before we get into the game and how we can potentially win it, what we're up against, and it is a lot, we thought we'd look at the top 5 iconic Essendon moments. So if you're a Collingwood supporter, we're not going to focus on that
You
today.
mean the 5
Yes.
iconic Essendon moments?
Yes.
Not the
What did I say?
top 5 suggest there's more.
Well, yeah.
Is there? Oh, I don't think we've had that many.
Yeah, I could have come up with 20.
Okay.
But no, let's look at the top 5 moments, because, and then we'll get stuck right into it, because I think it's just good preparation for the game. Get the mindset.
What a
right.
great idea. So let's count down from the 5th most iconic moment. Based on our own research, this may not be everybody's view. But I'd like to nominate for number 5 Anthony McDonald, Tippa chasing down Hoskin Elliott in I think it was 2017 Anzac Day game. We were up by about 20 points. This is in the last quarter, I think, with about 6 or 7 minutes to go. So there was still a chance that Collingwood could have come back.
Right.
And then Tippa in his, inimitable style, ran down his opponent and face planted him into the MCG turf. Let's have a quick look at that.
What they had to do. Absolutely. And look at Hoskin Elliott as a result. Tippa with the rundown of the day. Hoskin Elliott just picked the wrong bloke.
He's got speed, hasn't he?
Yeah, nice. We miss you, Waller.
We do.
Oh, my God, do we miss
Never
you.
have I seen a better tackler, arguably in the competition.
Yeah. But but he would stir up the crowd when the chase was on, and you just couldn't help but get excited.
Well, you can imagine the Collingwood, Hoskin Elliott in that case, would have heard that crowd, suddenly the roar of the crowd knowing, oh, shit, what's about to happen to me? And boom, before he knows it, everything turns to black. All right, moving right along.
Hey, soprano
over to you.
style. Okay, the next one is Andy Lovett lighting up the 2005 game. Now, if you recall, we beat Collingwood that year, 83-69, and Andy Lovett won the Anzac Day medal.
He did.
That day with a blistering performance. And it does make you think. Shall we go to the video?
Well, we've got a couple of clips. I mean, we can have a look at them and talk at the same time. But I think this is a little bit sensitive. This one, of course, because Andy Lovett, sadly. Ran into a little trouble. I don't know if sadly is the right word. He
had some off-field issues.
He did.
Let's just say.
But he was an incredibly electrifying footballer on his day, and never was it better framed than it was on Anzac Day in 2005. What a game he played that day. But interestingly, James Hird was also in the running for the Anzac medal that day as well.
Yeah, he was. So, and that would have been a fourth.
Could have been a fourth medal.
Fourth medal.
Because as it stands, Hird and Scott Pendlebury both have 3. So Pendlebury's still in the running to go to 4 potentially. But Hirdy didn't get the 4th. But on that day, Andy Lovett was fantastic.
Right. Okay.
So the beginning of it all, 1995, of course, the famous drawn game. Severio Rocker, I think, kicked 9 goals, was it that day?
He did.
For the Pies.
He kept Dustin Fletcher quite busy.
Yeah, but it was probably the last minute when Collingwood were really pressing and pumping the ball into the forward 50. And the Essendon defence stood up tall to just prevent them from getting that 1 point they needed to win the game. And notably, a moment involving Nathan Buckley, Fig Jam, deciding to, for once, share the ball instead of going for glory. He could have probably kicked a point from the 50-metre line had he continued to run in. And as you can see from the footage, he decided to pass the ball to a player who was pretty much under the pump from Essendon defenders, who were able to get the ball out of the forward 50, Collingwood's forward 50, and to safety, and the draw subsequently happened. And whilst that's not necessarily an iconic moment, the game itself, as we touched on before, is really so important and so famous.
It was just an unbelievably poetic way to start what's now become a big tradition in the Australian landscape. So it's quite fitting that it ended in that draw.
Did you watch the game, or were you too busy knocking back Carlton drafts in the corporate box?
Look, I'm not a corporate box kind of guy. Right. Just
but you did have to tell us all about it. Though.
But you asked if I was there. I told you. Okay. You asked if I got tickets. I mentioned I would. I didn't want to bring it up. But it was very enjoyable. You'd go out, you'd watch the quarter, then you go back inside, have a beverage, get comfortable, maybe a bite to eat, and then go back out to
you're an elitist. Fair enough. What have we got? What's the next one? This is the number 2.
All right. Okay. So this is James Hird 2003 5-goal effort. So as we've said, James Hird, he owned Anzac Day during his career, and so in the 2003 performance, he snapped 5 goals, and I think we beat the Pies that day by over 10 goals.
Yeah, it was a big win.
So that was a nice, enjoyable one. We haven't felt that for quite some time.
I think that was our biggest win, if I'm not mistaken. Someone can check that.
Yes.
Sir James, the great man. 5 goals, but each one of them, and I was at that game as well, and I recall him kicking them from everywhere. He was just banging them from the boundary line. We've got a clip of him taking a handball from one of his teammates who had the shot from about 45 out on the boundary line, and Hird just curled it around for a goal. But he was just remarkable that day. And the interesting thing, if you watch James Hird, have a look at how he kicks the ball. He kind of almost tosses it in the air, then kicks it.
He's
got that very interesting kicking style.
Very
and it's from the clips that we're showing,
quite effective.
He was able to put the ball on a player's chest with ease. So great game, but one of many great games he played on Anzac Day.
Right, okay, which comes to the number 1 moment. You probably know what it is, but we've got some more insight to share on that number 1 moment. Now, this was 2009. Of course, it involved Zaharakis. It was a game played in the wet. Now, given what could potentially be in store tomorrow, the weather forecast is saying 80% chance of precipitation, potentially up to 25 millimetres. So it could be a bit damp at the G. So who knows? Could there be a similar moment to this? But I think everyone remembers the Zaharakis goal. He was, I think it was the dying seconds. He was 45 metres out. Somehow, who did he take the handball from?
Oh, it was a kick.
Was it?
Yeah. I think it was Lovett Murray.
Oh, was it really?
Anyway, we've got the clip. We'll play the clip and have a look at it.
Let's have a look.
But before we do look at the Zaharakis goal, I just want to go back a couple of minutes, because everyone talks about, Zaharakis, but there was a goal kicked, probably a minute and a half before that by Ricky Dyson, that without that goal, Zaharakis' kick would have been for nothing. And it was a clutch goal. It was hard up on the boundary at the city end of the MCG. Fortunately, Ricky's a left footer, so it was on the right side for him. And he put it through. It was a clutch goal. It reminds me of the Dom Sheed goal in the 2018 Grand Final.
Which was not in the wet.
Right. And I think that's often, lost in all the sort of, the noise around Zaharakis, the excitement around that goal. So Ricky Dyson, he set it up, honestly, and deserves some credit. And as you can see from the footage we've shown, it was a terrific kick. Then, if I could just continue for a second.
Yeah, go on.
There was another moment just shortly after that where where Essendon cleared the ball out of defence and got the ball flying forward with a little chaos kick, which had Leroy Jetta on the end of it, but he couldn't pick the ball up in the wet. He was under some pressure from a Collingwood opponent, but fumble, could pick the ball up, and it actually rolled across the line for a behind. So at that point, we were 1 point behind Collingwood. And then, of course, the magic moment with Zaharakis. And let's have another look at it, because you can never get bored of watching this.
You cannot.
Sandwich between two pies. Back of the Packers, Winderlich. Quick handball to Hocking. Back to Lovett Murray. He goes short. It's a mark to Zaharakis. Zaharakis has kicked a goal. The Bombers are in front of the G. Unbelievable scenes here. David Zaharakis puts Essendon back in front after all looked lost. Stack the back line. Look at them go down, the Bombers. There's about 18 players going deep in defence.
Every single Essendon player is going to go into defence now and try and clog it up. Sensational bit of play. Good composure there from Lovett Murray. And Zaharakis, under pressure, made great contact.
Well, it's a magnificent fight back by a never-say-die Essendon. But Collingwood will have to ask themselves how they...
Oh, very nice. And he was only 19 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know what nightclub he went to that night, but I would imagine he got quite some attention.
Yeah, I think he was, not even 10 games into his career at that point.
Yeah.
He never did have a moment that topped that one.
No.
So he got that very early in his career.
That's enough.
He dines out on that. He probably does quite a few sportsman's nights at pubs around regional Victoria, replaying that moment. Zaka.
Yes.
So congratulations. So they're our top 5 moments, and
yes.
I think pretty amazing.
We hope you enjoyed those. We thought it'd just be good to let's dwell on the past some more, because it has been slim pickings of late. I don't think we need to. We don't need to restate that. But gosh, imagine how excited must Collingwood supporters be, with Anzac Day every year. It's not. It's for us. There's a bit of trepidation. Is there not?
They're marking a W down, are they? For that one?
Imagine if we had our team from the 99. 2000, 2001, we'd be sitting here, there'd be cigar smoke, there'd be whiskey glasses on the desk.
Oh, look, I mean, it's been Collingwood's fixture, no doubt about it. And because of that, I think there's some mind games going on.
Well,
I do.
You think?
I do.
Well, going into the game, the teams haven't been released yet, so we're going to have to take some guesses around who's in, who's out. But they're sitting top of the ladder. They had a great game against the Lions, a great win, and
on the road.
Yes, indeed.
On the road.
But I think here's a stat to grasp onto. I think that only Collingwood and the Bombers have won 3 games or more in a row. What can we do with that stat?
That's right. No other teams in the competition today, as we speak, are on a better run than both Collingwood and Essendon. Essendon's won 3, and I think Collingwood are on 5.
So it's set up nice.
No other side
AFL.
got better than 2. So these are the 2 formed teams. I mean, but against very differing opposition. So our last 2 wins have been over Melbourne, clearly struggling, and of course the Eagles, where we just got over the line, as opposed to Collingwood's very impressive win over the reigning premiers.
Yes.
At the Gabba. So, I mean, form lines are not indicative of where these 2 teams are.
No.
And I think it's important to sort of temper expectations a little bit. But it is a 2-horse race.
It is. So what we do know is that Darcy Moore is out. He won't be playing for the Pies, and I think I'm relieved that we don't have to listen to his speech after the game, because he is so very eloquent, and it's just doubly annoying.
What, that annoys you that he's eloquent?
Yes, it does.
Well, who steps up in his place then?
Well,
Degoe?
Nick Dacos has been made the captain for the day.
How has he? Captain Nick.
Yeah, he is. So it's quite an honour. I think he's the youngest Collingwood captain for 57 years.
Oh, by default. It's not like he's actually the club captain.
Yeah,
he's filling in for someone.
Okay, all right.
It's like a work experience,
I think Houston is in for the Pies, and that's a big in.
Yeah.
And, of course...
No.
Dan Houston, of course, putting us to the sword. When was that? Was that last year after the siren?
I think it was,
before?
yeah.
Wearing the Port
Last
Adelaide
season.
jumper, of course.
Yeah.
And they got someone else in, but I don't know who. But
teams haven't been announced.
No, they haven't.
Okay, so this is speculation,
Yes,
is it?
this is all speculation.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you say it with such confidence.
Yes. Well, everyone's just talking like Houston's definitely in.
Right,
Anyway.
well, okay. But look, Houston's not been a player that's really sort of set the world on fire since he's come across to Collingwood. But he could do a Mark McGough. He might just be the player in the Collingwood team that we play into form. There's always one, isn't there?
Yes, there is. We will make someone look like a superstar tomorrow.
So putting the Collingwood's ins and outs to one side, I think the intrigue is really around Essendon, right? Because clearly there's a need to replace Sam Draper. No question in your mind about who that will be?
Yeah, I think there's no question. It'll be Todd Goldstein. So that will be very, very interesting to see how quickly he hits the ground running. If he hits the ground running. Fascinating to see. Because he hasn't been on the field now. Has it been?
He hasn't played in the AFL, obviously, this year. I think he might have played a VFL game or...
But last year, was it round
19, I think? He played his last game?
Yeah.
Round 19. So he probably hasn't played in 10 games. But if ever there's a guy that should be able to step right in, it's someone who's played 300 plus games and knows his way around a footy field. I think he could be an interesting matchup in this game. I know you've got your views on how valuable the ruckman is, but Goldstein can certainly ruck, and at that centre bounce, really that's where he's got to stand out. He's got to own that centre bounce. If we can get first use of the ball out of the middle and perhaps quell Dacos's influence on the game, I think we're every chance.
Yeah, you think we've quickly gone to where every chance. I don't think you're going to quell Dacos. I think they've been trying to tag him, and it seems like he's almost untaggable. So hopefully Setterfield, maybe Durham, one of those two. But apart from him, you've got these experienced heads, and they just annoy us every year. You've got Pendlebury, side bottom. Put them down for 25 disposals each. It will be happening. And they're the ones that need to be... So even if you put Dacos out for a quarter, my problem is there's reinforcements.
Sure.
Gagowie.
Okay, yeah, right. Does the name Zach Merritt ring a bell?
Yes, and he won the medal last year
in
that drawed game.
Let's not forget we've got our own weapons out there.
Okay.
Collingwood's not a team of superstars. Yeah, sure, Dacos is the standout player, and they've got some pretty solid players around him.
Right.
But they're not a team of superstars. They're a good team, and I think on the day Essendon has some pretty talented players too, so they've got to watch out for Merritt. He's been fantastic, and I think importantly we've got a defence that I think's getting better and better as the weeks have passed, and can hold their own against Collingwood. So look, they've got to go into the game favourite. I don't know what the odds are, but I'm sure they are favourite. But
they're strong favourites.
I think Essendon is every chance. And, of course, given the importance of the day, these guys will certainly be up for it.
Well, that's the factor. And that's always the X factor, right, is how much does emotion play and really lifting in front of that crowd, which is quite a big raucous crowd.
I wouldn't be surprised if Sam Draper was to address the guys in the dressing room before the game. We're going to miss Sam Draper. He's a lightning rod for this team. And his energy in the changing rooms and out on the field will be missed. So I'm sure that the club's going to keep him involved in some way. And I wouldn't be surprised if these guys go out there and do it for Sammy. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Jeez. All right.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
So I think
you're really winding yourself
up. You got to. We said we'd be positive. I believe that we're a team that's on the improve. We're not the finished product. Collingwood's the finished product. They're not going to get any better than what they are now. So we know what we're up against.
Right.
I'm not sure they know what they're up against. We could come out and do some damage, and we might catch them sleeping. So
what has it been about them? So if they're not a team of superstars, what do you think it is that's got them performing at such a high level?
How did they go last year? Yeah, they didn't.
Sure.
So in 23 when they won the flag, I hate repeating this because well done to them, but they got lucky. They got lucky in both the preliminary final against, I think, GWS. There's some very bad decisions made at the end of that game. And then, of course, against Brisbane in the final. They got very lucky. Then they didn't even make the finals last year.
Yes.
So, yes, there's always that premiership hangover thing. But it's also an indication of perhaps the team just isn't that great. So we'll see. They're on a run at the moment. They're playing very well. But I don't think they're unbeatable by any stretch of the imagination.
Sure. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, what I've noticed is that they do have massive cohesion. And if you're ever watching a game on the TV, you just see them in the rooms before a game. They are so pumped. They really are just geeing each other up, playing for each other. It's quite tangible. And then after, I saw something, I think this was last week, they finished their pre-game warm-up and then the guys sitting on the bench were walking off the field, and I think it was Pendlebury, I'm not sure, 4 or 5 others, but Craig McRae stood there and shook each of their hands as they walked off to go sit on the bench pre-game. Now you might look at that and go, it's like a big deal, he shakes a few players' hands.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And for me, that's what they've got going. That's why they've been able to perform at this standard. So I'm not saying the Dons can't deliver that. I really hope they can, and I think if everyone just lifts that 10-20%, then it will be as close as last year. Now, last year, if you remember, they were a lot cleaner with the ball. They were a lot slicker.
Yeah.
The Dons got there just through sheer will.
Right. Yeah.
Through sheer will, somehow they just made it happen. And I'm hoping they can bring that because I'm worried about playing in the wet as well.
Well, is it going to be rain? I don't know. Is it raining during the game or is it forecast for a little later on?
You know, this is the Bureau of Meteorology.
We don't really know.
Throw a dart. Who knows?
Hold a finger to the wind. Yeah, good points. I think Collingwood have got that really strong camaraderie that they play as a team, and that's why they are good. Is that they're a very good team. So, I think we've got to go out and match that energy, match that camaraderie, do it for the jumper. And, again, this is why I say missing Draper is an important loss, because he was most definitely one of the players that would provide that energy. So someone's got to step up. They've got to play as a unit. They've got to be focused. And if they can do that, then, of course, they've got every chance of winning.
Yeah.
We should see some returns, I think. Probably Langford will be back in. At least at this stage, it looks like he will be.
Yeah.
Dersmer, I would expect, will play.
Yeah.
So, probably the issue is who goes out of the side for Langford. It could be Jones.
Given the precipitation.
Yep. Possibly, if there is any indication of it raining, I think it probably makes sense to drop one of the talls.
Yeah.
So that would be my guess, and of course, Goldstein in for Draper, and I would think the other one likely to go out of the side is Al Hawley. He's played 3 games as a sub. He got pretty much a full game against Melbourne, but I think he's not really quite there yet.
Yeah, okay.
And perhaps a game back in the VFL, which would say to me that perhaps Elijah Sartis will come into the side. He had a pretty good game in the VFL game against Port Melbourne last weekend. He had 30-plus possessions, a little shaky on the disposal efficiency, but, I think in the wet, he's certainly, if it is going to be wet, I think Sartis in and under, he's got very clean hands. He could be a real weapon for us in this game. So
are you worried, though, if it is in the wet and we try and play our sort of high possession, take your time in finding an option game?
Yeah.
Is that an area of concern, do you think?
If it is wet, then that short passing, kicking, marking game is going to come unstuck pretty quickly. You tend to want to get territory is everything in the wet. Get the ball up the ground as quickly as possible, and do so by any means. Trying to chip the ball around, cute little passes in and around the sort of half-back line can come unstuck very fast. So, these are professional footballers. They would have been coached to play a certain style depending on the conditions. So I'm sure if it is raining or if it is wet, they will play to those conditions a little bit more. But we shall see. Okay. I mean, I think the wet really brings the two teams closer together. On a dry deck, I would really favour Essendon. I think we can play that possession game. If we can keep their players somewhat subdued, particularly their key sort of ball movers, side bottom, Pendlebury, Dacos, we're every chance.
If we can get the ball to Peter Wright, and Langford, in a sort of clean fashion, like he enjoyed last week against West Coast, even 50 metres out, like we're in with a chance, because then he might snag 3 or 4 goals, and then all of a sudden we're a bit more potent on the scoreboard.
So Peter Wright is an interesting point, good one to sort of point out. Is he going to come back and do that again?
Yeah,
in the second week?
Everyone. Will Menzies come back 2 weeks later,
right,
and give us another 4 goals, because they've got to come from somewhere. I'd like to see Kako have a big day, soak up the occasion. It'd be great. He was doing a lot of pressure acts last week that sort of, don't even sort of generate a stat, but they make a big impact. So
for sure,
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think Darcy Moore out of that Collingwood defence is a really interesting issue for Collingwood to deal with. Yeah. Jeremy Howe will probably go to Peter Wright, I guess.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Good. He's pretty good.
But Caddy, if Caddy can get his game together, there's quite a few threats there in our forward, and Langford, of course, is certainly a handful. So I think we've got a team that can match up pretty well against Collingwood, depending on the conditions. I'm quite optimistic about this one, to be honest with you.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all right.
With that in mind, do you have your tip, perhaps, if we could get that from you?
Yes, Essendon by 1 point. They will win.
Oh, gee. Okay, so get the defibrillator out. Can't we ever just have a game?
No.
Where we can sit back at three-quarter time.
And just smoke a cigar? Yeah. No,
smoke a cigar. Maybe have a massage while watching.
Not now. That was 25 years ago. Not now.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go the Bombers as well. I think Essendon will win this game by 12 points. So 2 goals.
Okay.
And it'll be another great day at the G, another 90+ thousand crowd, and good luck. And Anzac Day medalist, any ideas at this stage?
Interesting. That will probably go to Nick Dacos.
In a losing team?
Yes.
Okay, well, good luck. He's going to throw it to the ground in disgust like he's Buckley. Yeah. I'm going to say Peter Wright.
Really?
I am going.
You're backing
mainly wishful thinking. Mainly wishful thinking.
After he kicks 8 goals.
Yeah. Okay.
In the first half.
8 goals.
In the first half.
Right. Peter Wright owns the MCG.
All right. Okay.
That's it.
Before we go, our last episode, we asked for some ideas for our news episodes every week. We received a lot of fantastic ideas.
Oh, boy.
There were so many options looking through those comments. I thought, there you go. We could, we could go with, that one's great. We could go. So we're going to create a short list, and then we may even get more feedback to
just milk this for a little longer.
No, not milking it, because I don't want, because there was, honestly, thank you, so many great options. There's a lot of creativity out there. Speaking of which, go on with the creativity.
Okay, but just quickly on that. So we will, the show that we're calling for a name, whatever that name will be next week, we will put up that shortlist, and we will ask you guys to pick the winner.
Yep.
And of course, as you know, there's an incredible prize for the winner: a lifetime subscription to our YouTube channel. They don't get handed out that often.
No,
guys.
they do not.
And one last thing, also, I think you wanted to talk about.
No, we had something come into the inbox.
Yes.
Very, very, very interesting. One of our viewers has created. I don't even know what to call this. I think he referred to it as a figurine.
It's a Chat GPT
AI created
thing.
Right, thing. Yes, a figurine of us, and we're touched. We're touched
like
that you
bobbleheads
would,
almost.
Take that time. Yes.
Anyway, there's a picture of it.
Right. There it is.
Yeah, I tell you
Thank
what.
you very much. That was Nick.
If only I looked that good in real life, I swear to
M.
God.
I was going to say, he made you, quite
What do you mean? He made you look better too. It wasn't just me. I think. But Nick M. We won't say your last name in case you wanted.
Yes.
Well,
thank you for taking that time.
Nick, cheers for that. And I think he made the point. If only we could sell these would be hot products. They'd be snapped up very quickly on
Nick,
eBay.
we've been threatening to do merchandise for some time, and we had the idea to create the mega caps, making Essendon great again. I think
might need to get Nick on the
Nick, if you're willing to help with that, we would much appreciate it because at this rate we'll get there in 2034.
To sell the 3 caps.
Yes. Cash in big time.
Right. No, that's when we can start to head out to Ringwood Car City.
Yes, that's right. Ourselves. Okay, thank you. Anyway,
guys,
thanks very much, Nick.
Thank you, Smoking. Thank you, everyone.
Everyone, enjoy the day. It's a great day. Let's hope the Bombers are super competitive. That's all we can really ask for.
We said they're going to win.
Yes, but that's our hearts, all right?
Okay.
That's our hearts. Let's just hope it's a super competitive game from the Dons' perspective, and the rest, well, let's see. Thanks again for watching.
All right, guys. See you soon. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye.